Hello and welcome to Jung at Harp. This is episode 194 and we'll talk about imperfect versus incomplete. If you have one, do you lose the other? I'm Deborah Henson-Conant, also known as Deborah Henson-Conant. I'm a composer, I'm a performer, and I have an online school. I'm here with Kathleen Wiley, who is a Jungian psychoanalyst and an author and also has an online community. And we both play the harp. And so we call this Jung at Harp. Each week we get together to discuss a question that we have. We don't come with answers, we come with questions, and using the skill and the art and the joy and the pleasure of conversation, we explore that question and we explore it with you, because this site is set up so that depending on where you're watching from, you can actually enter the conversation, and we love it when you do. So today I got dressed and I looked at my hair and I was like, oh, this is so, I love how this is sticking out everywhere. It's so cute. It's so adorable. And then I thought, oh, wait a minute, that's not professional. That's not really, it's not. Anyway, that's how the conversation began. We started talking about that. And then we went from there to talking about this new project that I've just completed, which is a fake book. It's a fake book, which is a book of music that's really just the outlines of a bunch of music. And it makes it easy for musicians to improvise if they know how to use the system. And so along with that, we also created a system where people can have play-along sessions, and then another system where people can get step-by-step training. So it all centers on this book, which is 50 plus tunes. And we decided to start with holiday tunes because it's such a anxiety-provoking thing for harpists this time of year. And that you have this beautiful instrument and people are asking you to play, and not just to play, but they want you to play their favorite song. And in order to make sure that you have everyone's favorite song, you'd have to get like 24 different arrangements, and you'd have to learn them. You'd have to get them all at your level, make sure that you like them. And God forbid they should ask you to play at a party and where you have to play for an hour or 2 hours. And, each song is only 2 minutes long. So, but there is a solution. And the solution is to play from a fake book, because a fake book is not learning an arrangement. It is a system by which you take a very simple outline of a tune and you turn it into an arrangement. And it's how I learned how to play as a kid. And the beauty of it for me is that it grows with you, because you play it at whatever level you're at. And then as you develop more, you reinterpret that simple formula over and over and over again. It just becomes more and more creative. And this is how jazz players play. Okay, so that's the background. Starts with my hair, of course, and then and so we wanted to put it together very quickly. We wanted to put it together before, like Black Friday and Christmas, because harpists need to start doing this. We wanted to put it all together. And needless to say, whenever you put something together quickly, there will be things you want to change. We found other tunes we wanted to add. We found, parts of tunes that we wanted to add or wanted to change, or chords we wanted to change. And so we've changed it several times since we put it out. And I've been feeling like part of me is like, oh, I'm so excited, because now, it was great in version 1, and now it's even better. And everybody who bought version 1, they're going to get, the next version. There's that, which is, wow, this is what it's like to create something imperfect, get it out there, get it in people's hands, let them start using it. And then there's this little shame monkey that's over here that's like, how dare you put that out there? And I'm imagining someone like, I printed that out and it's wrong, and now I'm going to have to print it out again. This is what's in my head, is perfectionism. And when I told you about this, you said, well, first of all, I want to say that my coach said to me as I was talking about this, and this especially came up because I did a Facebook Live that suddenly resulted in a lot of sales. Like I could like see them coming in, and part of me was like, "Oh yay, everybody has this book," and the other one was like, "Oh my God, no, it's not perfect." I've got to like I was so anxious about it. I was working on it until 2 a.m. and then got up again at 7 to try to fix it, and my coach said to me, "Congratulations, Deborah, for putting something out there that wasn't perfect," because she knows that I struggle. And this is why there's so little of my music that's available for harpists, that I struggle with perfectionism.
Yeah.
And that makes it impossible for something to get out there. And so I'm really trying to embrace the extreme discomfort of knowing that people are using something that's imperfect.
Mm-hmm.
It will always be the case. I mean, there's mistakes in Baroque flamenco that's been out there for 10 years and that people perform on stage. There's things that are, and I've in orchestra scores, I've seen mistakes in, Ravel and Debussy. I get it. It's always going to be that way. But I really wanted to talk about this idea of imperfect. And you brought up that you said, all right, so is something complete? Can it be connected to the next person? Can the next person get value from it? Can they take it and actually use it? Does it connect them to others?
Yeah. Yeah, well, congratulations, because it is a big accomplishment, and to take that courage to, as my book coach says, to just lob it out there into the world and know that it's going to have a life of its own. It occurs to me in my own life whenever I do a creative project, and I'm finding this with this book project, which I'm doing another round of edits on. And I've realized that I could edit it for the rest of my life. And so this is the round of edits that's going to get it to some people who are going to endorse it for me and get it to for submission to publishers. Because I've just realized my own process is never finished. So my own evolution, as a human being, as a creative, as a writer, as a psychoanalyst, as a harpist, as a wife, as a friend, a lover, it's never finished. It's never complete in the sense of being finished. It's an ongoing evolutionary journey as long as I'm living. And we see that in the cycles of nature. It's never at a standstill. If it's at a standstill, it's dead. And even we know when things are dead, there's still life underneath. There's another life happening. So I think that at some point we have to say, yeah, this isn't perfect. It's got some things. And in retrospect, if I'd done it this week or next year, I probably would have done this differently. But it's good enough. It's good enough to achieve the intention, the outcome, your desire. To me, the intention for you is to empower a harpist to enjoy playing through the Christmas season, to enjoy joining in and creating music for people of familiar tunes in a way that is digestible, manageable,
Right.
doable, realistic. And that is a powerful gift. And so I think we just have to keep our eye on. So if this chord, you do it differently this time or that time, does it really matter when I'm out there? And by the way, I am going to be playing at a Christmas party with John the first weekend of December. Yeah. So I have my own, I'll be looking at the fake book. You know, it's like, does it really matter if I hit a fourth when I was going for a fifth, or if I hit the fifth when I was going for a fourth, or is it just going to sound like music? Music. I mean, yeah.
A bunch of things came into my head when you were talking. I had just a bunch of these revelations when you said the word process, and you talked about how process is your whole life. And as you were saying it, I was thinking, and both the beautiful and the maddening thing is, as soon as you complete something, going through the process of completing it actually opens up more that could change. Now, that's not always true. I was thinking about the golden cage, and I was thinking about how really complete it feels. Although I feel like for the rest of my life, I'll probably be working on the ending, and like on my deathbed, I'll be like, oh, that's the ending it's supposed to be. They say this. But the process itself is a process that opens us up to understanding more of what we're doing, yes. Which is what's interesting about this fake book as well, is that it's a way of learning. What I love about it, and so I was thinking also about this, something complete. A classical piece of music, once on a page, is considered complete and perfect. And maybe it is so. Maybe Beethoven heard Furilis and it would be like, yeah, it's okay. I don't need to change that anymore. Maybe. And so when we come from that ethic, I know that that's the biggest thing, that's my biggest competition in fighting for people's self-expression through playing the instrument. My biggest competition is the perfection of pieces of, classical pieces, that there's the idea that you can get them right.
Yeah, when you said competition, what came up for me is it's not competition. It's a totally different paradigm. It's like at some point we have to make a decision. What paradigm, what world are we going to live in? Are we going to live in this world that says you have to do it just like somebody else says do it, i.e. the piece of music? Or are you going to live in the world where it's like, what am I hearing? What's coming through me right now? What's the aliveness of this piece of music for me? They're different worlds.
Well, I think that's one of the interesting things about this particular process, the process of the fake book, because the process of the fake book is that you can't necessarily play what you want to play. Like a lot of people say to me or think that improvisation, this may be true for others, but that improvisation is being able to hear what's in your head and then play it. Mm-hmm. And for me, that is just not true at all. It's for me a process that has to do with the physical act of playing. So if I'm playing, it depends on what I'm playing. And I just want to say, composing to me is a completely different art form than improvising. I might use improvising to begin composing, but composing is just completely different. I don't think about harmony. I don't think about patterns. I don't think about that when I'm composing. When I'm composing, I'm thinking about what is the most effective self-expression, but it's almost always within a character, and a character is saying something, or because that's sort of my most personal form of writing is music theater. So the story is first, and what the characters have to say is first, and the music is in service to it. But when I'm improvising, or in the improv that I teach, if I were teaching, I teach by patterns so that you don't have to think. Mm-hmm. And so if I'm playing, I'm just going to play a pattern. I don't know, I'm just going to play this. So I'm in the Lydian mode for whatever reason, and I'm making this. This isn't going anywhere. I'm just playing a vamp over and over again. But I'm not thinking at all about what my right. Are you hearing me?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. I'm not thinking at all about what my right hand is doing from a compositional standpoint. It's like a bird that's taken over my hand and it's just flying. got a pattern going with my left hand, and then my right hand is being this thing that moves over it based on what's easy for my hand and and sort of a sense of like arc, or like, I feel like going up or something like that. But I don't know the notes that I'm playing with my right hand. I know the pattern with my left hand. Don't think about, don't care what the notes are with my right hand and whether or not they fit with the chord of my left hand. And it's because I've set up the pattern so that I don't have to worry about that.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is me over and over again, and this is another reason for the fake book, is that I want to do the front loading. I want the book to be super simple so that people don't have to worry about extraneous chords, blah, 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 blah. I want my patterns that I'm improvising on to be super simple, so I stop thinking about what I'm doing and I can be present to the activity and responding to the instrument and whatever. You're nodding, and what are you thinking?
Well, I mean, again, part of what I'm hearing is that you've given your thinking something to do by giving it a pattern. Instead of your thinking having to figure it out, you give the thinking like, what is it? What is it? This is the pattern. So you've answered that kind of question. And I think about how often you talk about structure, and this might not be exactly how you would say it, but how structure gives you, I'm going to say at this moment, it gives you the safe fenced in area to be able to explore. And when you're in the safe fenced in area and you're able to explore, then you're able to take risk, which means you don't have to stop and figure out where you're going. You let your hands go. And if you have the pattern that sets up the limit, the safe space, then you're able to relax into it.
Yeah, it's really interesting. As you were speaking, I was thinking I was in the grocery store the other day, and it was sort of late at night, and there was some really great music on, and I was dancing, and I was at the checkout, and I was just kind of dancing, and noticed this other guy was dancing over at the other checkout thing, and we just sort of saw each other and, smiled. And I realized that, I didn't have to make that music. It was coming through the loudspeakers. I was standing at the checkout counter. I had this space. I had this time to enjoy. I was moving. And I just realized that is the experience that I'm setting up here. Mm-hmm. I'm setting up something where the music is already there. In this case, the music is already there. Now it's there. Now I can just kind of dance into it, mm-hmm. and onto it. And the same thing with the fake book. It lays out the basic, most fundamental structure of each tune. So it's there. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like living with a a mise en place. When you're cooking, everything is already there. You go to the fake book, you open it up, and the meal is there. Mm-hmm. It tells you what to do, and every dish is already prepared. The chords are there. You just do it. But the thing that's also interesting to me, and when you said the word process, the thing that's especially interesting to me with teaching people how to use a fake book is that learning one tune immediately helps you learn another tune. Mm-hmm. And in part because we put every song in the same tuning. They're mm-hmm. all in C tuning. So they're either in C major or A minor. So you really, really, really start to see the patterns. Mm-hmm. I mean, it is a book for playing, but I wanted it to make it as a book for learning. I wanted it to give people this grounding in this process of playing, because it has such a, for me, it's like from there, you can go anywhere. You can go to composing, you can go to improvising, you can go to playing with other people, you can go to writing musical theater, you can go to making video greeting cards. It's like this, you've learned more than the alphabet. Anyway, but the thing, when you said the word process, yeah. It's when you learn a process or a system, you can apply it to many things, versus in music, when you learn a single piece of music, it will, physically your technique will develop, but your understanding of music does not necessarily develop by learning a specific piece of music and then another piece. And this, one of the people in the academy, the student liaison, who's now a teacher in the academy, she came from the classical world.
Mm-hmm.
It never occurred to her to even think about how a piece is structured, or what the harmonies are, or what their relationship to it is, or what that might tell her about other pieces. And to me, and she has all this wonderful, I mean, it's really fun to watch her play, because she could just write, like, really do all this technical stuff. And I love being able to teach her and others how to, like, understand, so that it applies to everything.
Mm-hmm.
Start understanding relationships and patterns, and get them under your hands. And it's like not just, it's like having an internal GPS. I know where I'm going. Oh, if there's a traffic jam there, no problem, I can go around it this way. It's like having that, but for music.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so all right, I know I'm waxing poetic. Poetic. I'll pull up Victoria. Thank you. Victoria says, I found it hard to judge what is good enough without external feedback. If you leave something up to me and there's no deadline, I could spend forever on it. It helps to have a circle of trusted people to give me feedback, so I know what something is. To be continued. Oh, wait. Oh, okay.
It's good enough to call it done.
Oh, right. Well, therein is so interesting, because we were talking about incomplete. And in Hip Harp Academy, we have this at the end of the quarter. We have two different times when people are sharing specific projects. One is now, which is the half-baked project, where you just get it out there, whatever it is, doesn't matter. And then the final beginning. And the final beginning is all about imperfect completion.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear what you're saying, to have to be able to do it within a trusted group is so important. And also so that's really important for the final one. For the middle one, the half-baked, what I find especially interesting is knowing, what was someone's intention? What were you trying to do?
Mm-hmm.
And looking at whatever they did from that standpoint, and then saying, oh, great, okay, so here's where you did this, and here's where you did this, and here's where you did this. Because many times people can't see that for themselves. We can't see, well, I don't know, maybe Victoria can, maybe you can, Kathleen. I cannot see, without a lot of help, what is good enough, and what is complete. Although I know Gustavo and I have made, we've been doing this enough times with the legacy team that we're like, okay, it looks like a book. It looks like a book, and you can give it to somebody. It has stuff. So I guess it's a book. Does it do its job? I think I accidentally had some caffeine this morning.
That's okay. That's okay. Caffeine's a good thing some days. I mean, that whole idea of what's good enough, and external feedback versus internal feedback, I do think that there is this interplay. When I share meditations that I've written, and I'll immediately get back, several emails from people who said, this is just what I needed to hear today, or this speaks to me. And so I think sometimes we don't know the value and worth of what we've created unless someone else acknowledges or shares with us how we impact them. So I think there is that need to know, to have the feedback of how we're impacting another. And of course, there is then the shadow side of that, as you so often shared with your story about the Catcher in the Rye piece, when you first shared it with a friend who kind of made a face and you put it away. And, I'm thinking about this transformational book coach I was working with early on in my book project, who I sent her some writing, and she wrote me back and said, this is boring. It was like, oh, it was, but I get it. And she was really, in her candid response, she was saying to me, I need your heart and story in this, not all of this sterile academic information. So it was an important feedback, even though it was a little bit to me, because it allowed something else to open up in me, and it allowed me to begin to say, okay, yeah, there's something missing here in what I've written, and how do I put the essence into what it is versus just these words. So it's always opening to external feedback has those two prongs, right? One is we can hear how much value and worth what we've created has to someone, and then sometimes we get feedback that's a little bit jarring and penetrates our sense that this is good enough to say, wait a minute, I know there's more here that you can share with us. I want the more. And it's an invitation to step more into our wholeness. Um, so who we share with is important. And I think the other thing we have to get, and I'm thinking about a colleague of mine when I first went into private practice over 30 years ago. He said to me, he said, a third of the people you work with are going to go out, they're going to think you're wonderful and you helped them a lot, and they're going to go out and tell other people that. Another third of the people that you work with, they're going to be neutral about it. And another third of the people you work with aren't going to think you've helped. And they never refer anybody to you. And he said, that's just the way it is. And it's it was kind of a reality check of, I'm not all things to all people. I don't have the capacity to be present to everyone in just the way that they need. And that third and that other third is enough. And so I think we have to be able also to get to a place about external feedback that we hold it lightly.
It's really interesting because I'm thinking about how so many things came up for me in what you were saying. I'll try to get through them. And one that came up was the idea that I love this thing about like that a third of your clients, they're gonna, and I don't know how you would be like, you've spent all that money, when am I gonna, but that's my thing. Is one of the things we do in the academy, because the academy is Hip Harp Academy is a closed space for safety and for development through discovery, not development through critique. We're just at the discovery phase, and so I'm constantly, when anyone shares, I'm always very careful to create a container for that and explain how I go through a whole thing. But part of it is, as we watch others, look for the gift, that in everything anyone shares, there is a gift. You look for that gift. So in anything anyone shares, there's a gift. You look for that gift and you share it back with them, because they don't know. There's a gift for each person, but they don't know what that gift is. You look for it and you share it back with them. Yeah. So there's and then that becomes, and then you start to be able to actually see the gift in your own work. And I was thinking, as we were first talking about those three different categories of people, I was thinking, right, when I'm walking out, during the fall and all these leaves are falling, but one leaf catches the light and it's right in front of my eyes, and this one becomes magical to me.
Yes. Yeah.
But the others, they don't. So that was one thing I thought. And then and then as you were speaking and you were talking about what the woman said about your book, I was thinking about how people get very focused on the complexity of their playing. And especially like when I'm teaching people how to play in the fake book, I'm teaching them how to play something in a super, super, super simple way, like the that's like you can do that right from the formula, and then as soon as you get that, you can add harmony. And that is purely just a process. It's literally, there's that melody, put a sixth underneath it, do like this, do this with this other thing. It's a process. There's nothing musical about it.
Mm-hmm.
But anyone can add musicality. And this is what I heard in what you were saying about what that woman said, is when she said it was boring, and then she went on to say something like there's more of you. There's so much more of you. And I'm realizing that even in there's so much of us that we can put in a very simple thing. But I remember when I was first starting to play the harp, I felt I did not have a right to play musically unless I was playing something complex.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then the last thing that I remember, there was a retreat that I was holding years ago, and people were like, okay, they wanted me to critique their playing, and I was just really scared to do it. And then one day I was like, okay, they paid their money. I'm gonna actually tell them. I'm gonna tell them. And so I started working with one woman, and we're sitting there, and I said, no, do it again, and take all the fluff out of it, all the thing where you're trying to show like what a creative person you are. Take that out. I just want to see you. And she kept doing it, and I'd be like, no, take all of that out. I just want to see you. And at a certain point, she just started sobbing. And it wasn't because I was beating her up or anything, or maybe but I remember seeing her tears flow down the harp, the harp soundboard. I remember seeing her tears flow down. And when I finally felt like I had gotten her, I was like, okay, we're done. And I turned to everyone else, and like everyone else was sitting, we were in a theater, and they were sitting in the chairs, and they all looked like, Mwah. And then I was like, okay, who's next? And I was thinking they were going to be like, get me out of here. And someone came up to the harp, and she sat down, and I was like, okay, what would you like? And she said, I want you to do to me what you did to her. Mm. And I was like, okay. And yes, I get it. Because we all, I mean, maybe not. I think we're longing to be able to express ourselves and to connect with ourselves at that level, but we don't know how.
Right. Yeah. I mean, psychologically, it's because we get caught up in trying to be a certain role, a persona in the outer world that we think we should be. So I see we've got lots of.
Yeah, we do. Okay. Thank you. All right. So let's pull Victoria's second. I also wonder if you have a process that is proven to work, are we more likely to deliver complete work by virtue of following that? Well, that's what Gustavo and I are working on doing. Like, as we're having trouble with this project, we're like, okay, how do we do this process? How do we fix this process? The biggest thing that was helpful to me with the fake book was, these are holiday tunes. Harpists have to be playing holiday tunes. I want to change their lives. I want to make their lives easier. So that was one of the big things in getting it out. And I think that helps, but we'll find out with the next book. What if we're doing something that we don't have a process for yet? Oh, I pity you, and I pity myself. When I don't have a process, forget it. I'm in a class now that has a process for talking about my own work. And I can't tell you what a relief it is to be able to have a process for it. I could cry. Mm-hmm. Without a process, it reminds me of, like, I was a kid. There was things I didn't know how to do that my mother and my brother could just do. Clean things. So if I was sent to my room to clean my room, well, shoot me. I don't know how. I don't know where anything goes. I don't know what goes with what. Give me something. When I have the process, without a process, I don't know. Mm-hmm. I mean, I do know now. I would go to AI and say, I don't have a process for this. Give me a process. And then he'd give me a process, and I'd say, that's crap. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to, and I just want to finish what Victoria said. Are we more likely to deliver complete work by virtue of following that established process? Yes, but I think we also always have to step out of the process and say, okay, I did the process. Now let's just look at this. Does this make sense? So that's part of it. What if we're doing something that we don't have a process for yet? How do we learn to iterate and improve? Well, I got to tell you, when I was writing, first learning how to write for orchestra, and I hadn't even seen orchestra scores before, and I made a book for myself as if I were writing a book for somebody else. I just wrote down everything I knew. And then the other thing I did that was very helpful is I had something called questions for experts. And I would put the questions in a certain part of the book, knowing that anytime I would find an expert, like if I was going to talk to an expert bassoonist, or if I had a chance to talk to an expert, percussionist, I would go to that list and I would know that I would have what there was for them to ask. But I would definitely get into conversations and ask about it exactly like you're doing now. I mean, not like I have answers, but let's see what the other answers are here. At to buy, I'm in software, and I always joke with people that a piece of software is never finished. Exactly. You stop when it meets enough of the client's requirements, one being time, which is that two-way communication.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. You stop when it meets enough of the client's requirements, meaning they need it now, I guess. And that, right, which is two-way conversation. You're right.
Right.
Yeah, it becomes, so here, there's a second installment. So from the harp, I guess, it's that you are expressing enough of what you are trying to express. Who and what is the person you're communicating your music. Right. And it's interesting because we've been in the legacy project team, we've been going over to software to look at, well, how do they deal with, updates, like, we found a bug in the system here. How do we communicate that to people? And how do we communicate it to people when they're not just buying music from me, but they're buying music from other people? It's out in the world, from Sylvia Woods or from Creighton Collections or something like that. How do we set up the books so that we have connection? We know who bought what, so that when there is something to be updated, we can go to them and let them know what there is to be updated.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's this one part of Baroque flamenco, it's wrong. And it's always wrong. And I have to hear people play it wrong over and over and over again. And I have to know that if they play it right and they're in a contest, the judges will tell them they did it wrong, because that's not what's on the page.
Well, we don't have time because we're about out of time, and it's almost 10 o'clock. But I mean, I think, again, is it wrong, or is it an alternative version? It's not the version you prefer. It's not the version you've deemed the right one. But is it wrong? I mean, we're back to imperfect versus incomplete. You're
right. I've learned to appreciate it.
Yeah. You prefer a different version, but it's a version that is out there in the world, and people love it enough to play it.
Well, it's just one note that's wrong.
Okay, one note. Come on.
Well, and as you were saying, the minute you said what you said, I thought, well, if someone played it super convincingly, I would consider, allowing it out of my brain as, the wrong thing. Let's pull this last up. Sometimes you only need it to reach one person, yourself. There's more of that. That's such an interesting thought. Go on.
I was just gonna say, there's this story about this little girl who's walking down a beach where all of these starfish have, washed up and are going to die because they're beached. And so she's walking down the beach, picking them up one at a time, throwing them in. And this man comes by and says, "What you're doing is useless. You can't save them all. It doesn't matter." And she picks one up and throws it back and says, "It matters to this one. It matters to this one." I think we have to remember that. And, Jung says we change the world one person at a time. We make an impact one person at a time. And that one person matters. And it has a ripple effect. And I believe that. And I believe your fake book and the version it has, even if somebody never ever gets the revisions or the right things, has made a positive difference, and it's going to have a ripple effect.
And you're right. I mean, it's total obsession on my part.
Yeah.
It's great. I mean, it's it's great exactly as it is. And there's more that I want to do. What you said when you said about the starfish, I grew up living the shadow of my mother's not being discovered. She was an incredible performer, and she died very young, never was discovered. And I was once again going over this in my mind and the pain of it. My mother was never discovered. This artistry, never got seen outside of, my home, or the few people who saw her were so moved by her. And then suddenly I was like, wait a minute, I discovered her.
Mm-hmm.
It changed my life. Is that not enough? The people, and I know, in fact, that the people whose lives, I know that my friend Fred, she came to sing at the church that we were in North Carolina at this Baptist church, and my mother came to sing there, and he said to me years later, he said, your mom blew the roof off that church. He said, and when I saw that, it made me think, wait a second, if this kind of beauty and power can be in my life, can come to me and be in my space, what does that say about what's possible for me? So, conclusion.
Sometimes you only need to reach one person yourself.
Yeah. Yes. And I would also encourage everyone to let that be heard. I'm just thinking of the moments when I've heard someone singing to a child while they're on the bike path instead of talking on their phone. The time when somebody starts whistling, the time when I hear someone singing just to sing, just for fun, not to be heard, but just to sing. And what a huge difference that has made in my life. And as we go into this holiday season where there's so many different meanings of it, I would just, beg people to play what you can,
Mm-hmm.
with as much joy as you can.
Yeah.
And that does make a difference.
Yes.
And to tell myself the same thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Kathleen, thank you so much for coming. I know you're still getting over a cold, and
Yeah.
And thank you to @tobuy and to Victoria and to everyone else who comes up to us afterwards and tells us, what you've heard and what a difference it's made. And Kathleen, thank you for these conversations where we get to look at the questions and explore them together. I look forward to seeing you next week. Will we be here next week? Will you be here?
I will confirm that later.
Okay. All right.
Visit jungatharp.com for show notes, contact links, and to follow the ongoing conversation. That's Jung, as in Carl Jung, the famous psychoanalyst, and harp, as in the many-stringed instrument.